What is the purpose of the briefcase that the President of the United States always takes with him? The Russian president has one too. Every time one of them is away from the presidential palace, you'll see a security officer looking after it. Well, it is one of the most precious and dangerous objects on the planet. In fact, it makes activating a nuclear strike with the launch hundreds of missiles possible. We're talking about the nuclear briefcase. Before we get down to it, here are some introductory facts. There are 9 countries in the world that have nuclear weapons: Russia, the USA, China, France, the UK, Pakistan, India, Israel, and North Korea.
Ciao ragazzi, this video was written and filmed in Italian by our team of scientists, storytellers and video makers. We are Italians. It was manually translated into English, but dubbed with artificial intelligence. Long live culture, and let's go back to the video.
Today, however, we'll only look at the nuclear strike launch protocols for the US and Russia. Why? Because they are by far the 2 countries with the most bombs. About 4,000 each. China, in 3rd place, has 10 times fewer bombs. That's still a lot, but you understand that it's on another level. Officially, the US has 3,708 nuclear weapons, with 1,770 ready for use and 1,938 in storage, so to speak. That is to say, they would need a little work before they could be used. Russia has more bombs in total. There are 4,489 of them, but the proportion of those ready for use is lower. 1,674 compared to 2,815 in storage needing work. Now that we've looked at the overall numbers, let's move on to the nuclear strike launch protocols, starting with the USA. The American president can initiate the launch of nuclear weapons from fixed locations, such as the Situation Room in the White House, but when he is on the move, he is always accompanied by a briefcase weighing about 20 kilograms, called the nuclear football, to which only he has access, and which would theoretically allow him to active an attack remotely. To do this, they first have to go through an authentication process. For this purpose, the National Security Agency generates ad hoc codes, known as the gold codes, and prints them on a plastic card called a biscuit. Approximately the size of a credit card, the biscuit has an opaque plastic covering to conceal its contents. The president must always have the biscuit with him, along with the briefcase, and he must also remember which of the printed codes are the real ones, because for security reasons, almost all of them are false. However, we don't know how often the biscuit and codes are changed. But what are they used for? Well, if the president ever wanted to authorize a nuclear attack, he would have to provide the codes to the National Military Command Center, which also has them, to certify that he is actually the one making the decision and not someone else. It is a fundamental measure because you should be aware that on multiple occasions the biscuit has been misplaced. However, it's not as if the president can just decide out of the blue to open the briefcase and authorize a nuclear attack. There is a protocol. He can only do so in cases of extreme emergency. To this end, the US has simulated many war scenarios, including nuclear ones, and already has pre-prepared responses drawn up to make decision-making faster in serious situations. And in fact, inside the briefcase, there is also a black notebook about 100 pages long, in which all possible attacks that America could be subject to and how to respond to them are set out. In short, the US president has to follow the instructions in the notebook. Moreover, in an emergency, the heads of vital American departments would promptly gather and provide the president with a concise explanation of the available retaliatory options within a matter of seconds. Clearly then, it would be up to him to decide and authorize. But here's a question. What if it were necessary to launch a nuclear attack, but the president were deceased, or the briefcase was stolen or damaged? There are probably procedures that we don't know about. It is certain, however, that there are fixed locations that emergencies can be managed from, and that the vice president also has a briefcase and a backup biscuit. Anyway, currently the American nuclear system is mainly designed for defense. In particular, the United States secretly classifies the level of threat they face with a scale called Defcon, which stands for Defense Readiness Condition. The scale indicates the readiness of the armed forces to intervene and ranges from 1 to 5, where 1 indicates a state of maximum alert. The levels that interest us today are the highest ones. Defcon 2 indicates a nuclear war threat and requires the armed forces to be ready to fight within 6 hours. It is widely known that this level was reached during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Defcon 1, on the other hand, indicates an imminent or ongoing nuclear war and that the armed forces are ready to intervene instantly, but fortunately, it is a level that has never been reached. In any case, if the President of the United States were to give the green light to a nuclear attack, it has been estimated that hundreds of missiles could be launched within a few minutes, with the exact timings depending on whether they are launched from a land base or, for example, from a submarine. Having looked at the US, let's now move on to Russia, which we know a little less about. The Russian president is also not permitted to make the decision to use nuclear weapons on his own. To avoid hasty and unilateral decisions, he must have approval from the Chief of the General Staff, who is the head of the Russian Armed Forces and the Minister of Defense. In a situation of extreme emergency, in fact, the three state officials would be immediately informed of the possible options in the field, and it would be up to the president at that point to make a decision, but he would have to have the support of his two colleagues. If they are in agreement, they have input their own encrypted codes into a terminal that, when they are not located inside specific buildings, is also contained within a portable briefcase. However, they each have their own, so in Russia there are 3 briefcases. The Russian nuclear briefcase is called a cheget. Moreover, for safety, there are also 3 spare briefcases. Now, what happens if the president doesn't agree with the other 2? Well, we don't know for sure, but it's clear that there will be a protocol to avoid a deadlock. In any case, once activated, operational nuclear missiles could be fired following additional steps within approximately 5 to 15 minutes. But have the briefcases ever been activated? Yes, we know that they have been. But before we explain the episode, let's just clarify a matter. Both Russia and the United States theoretically follow a predominantly defensive nuclear doctrine. The reason both countries have developed arsenals of nuclear weapons has always been, and continues to be, so that they can be used as a means of deterrence. In simple terms, the United States and Russia each know that they both have a large number of nuclear weapons, and if one of them launches a bomb, the other will respond, and that this will presumably continue until they have used all their weapons, annihilating humanity and devastating planet Earth in the process. For this reason, for the fear that this could happen, no one ultimately uses them because it would also lead to self-destruction. This is deterrence. Finally, we come to the episode in which it is known for certain that a briefcase was put into operational mode, but fortunately without the attack codes being entered. In January 1995, a research missile of Norwegian-American origin was launched in Norway. At first, the Russian Missile Analysis and Interception Systems mistakenly identified this missile as a hostile nuclear weapon, and as a result, the armed forces immediately informed Boris Yeltsin, the Russian president at the time, that there was a threat. Yeltsin took the briefcase and got ready to use it, also notifying the chief of the armed forces and the defense minister. He then waited a few short minutes to receive additional confirmation, and fortunately, in the end, the mistake was discovered and nothing happened. Thank goodness for that. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching and see you for the next video, always here on Geopop Everyday Science. Ciao!